Let's talk about actionable alerts and sort of enriching detections, pulling in context and making them more actionable. What role does context play in turning a low confidence signal into something more actionable? Can you walk us through what that enrichment process looks like?
Yeah, I think this is the most fun part of our job is taking something, taking a raw log that's pretty awful or, not very descriptive and turning it into something that can be acted on quickly. And so there's a number of ways that we can do that. Um, Kind of the low hanging fruit, I would say, is enriching alerts with reputational data. So there's a lot of popular databases out there where there's known bad IPs and known bad hashes, and making sure the analyst understands if something's known bad is important. So that should be added whenever that's available. But then there's a lot of layers. So another thing that we have a lot of ability to do is correlate across customers' tech stacks, their entire stack. So we can see if there's a related network event that pertains to the endpoint that emitted an alert, and that type of aggregation helps dramatically for an analyst to understand what's happening in that environment. So that's correlating across signals from their tech stack. I think there's other things that we can do as well. That's based on the prevalence of those artifacts that we see. So again, getting to another layer. So maybe we observed a user logging in from an IP. If they log in from that IP every single day, then all right, probably not sus. But
Sure.
if it's something new and in a different geographic region, and maybe during a time that they typically don't log in, all those things, all those indicators of prevalence are really, really impactful to making a quick decision by the analyst.
Hmm, that's good. Jeff, anything to add on Brady's points there?
Yeah, I think Brady talked a good bit about like the technical context, and he touched on customer context, which is something I didn't really appreciate before I came to work at an MDR, which has multiple customers. But even at, when I was working at a single organization, when I think about like what separated the great analysts from like the junior analysts, it was like the great analysts kind of had this in the know of things that just like they operated automatically when they saw something. So they'd be like, oh, that host name, that's a computer in the
Hmm.
plant on the plant floor. It should never be touching the internet. Or they might even just be like socially in the know, like, hey, like our CISO shouldn't be logging in from Russia. He's in North Korea this week or something like that. When we can codify that customer context like Expel has, it makes it really fun and easier for me as a detection engineer to bring in things like, hey, we know that this org has an IT guy. He runs a cron job every week. We'll account for that. Like we won't spin up in a whole incident on that and waste their time with it. Maybe there's an employee that bounces back and forth from their home country twice a year. We can account for that. All these different like very unique cases, we can bake that into the customer context and make sure that we're not just inundating the SOC with stuff that we have been told ahead of time is a regular pattern. And that definitely scales when you're talking about hundreds of customers to look after at any given time. And it also makes it so that, whether it's going back to like what separates the junior from the senior, when a SOC analyst has that baked in and codified into the platform, whether it's their first day or like their, 7,000th day, we're all kind of operating on the same picture.
When it comes to customer context, is that stuff that you actually put into the detections, like into the platform? Like how does that work? Or is it institutional knowledge, like from our SOC? How does that work?
Yeah, I'll go first in the Brady colored in, but it's a little bit of both. I mean, we're constantly getting context from a customer, as in the SOC being our internal customer.
Yep.
We're constantly getting feedback from them on things to include detections, things to clean up. That's where kind of the custom detections come into play, is when the SOC picks up on like, hey, this alert, it's really good for like these 700 customers, but this one customer, it's really noisy just because of X, Y, or Z. Can we make a custom detection for them to look for these additional things, or maybe tune out this stuff? And that's a really good conversation, because that'll either lead to a really nice custom detection, or it'll make us relook at that detection across the board and be like, okay, well, can we add more to this to make it less noisy? So that's kind of nice. Yeah. And then customer context. Yes, we have ways to integrate with our platform where the customers can go in themselves. They can put in various types of attributes about their employees, or different messages they want to give us about like, hey, just so you know, this is going on this week. We have a pen test, or this person's traveling. We can account for that using our engines to kind of tune out some of the noise from those things.